Hello and thanks for watching. In this video, I'm going to show you how to bind off or cast off around a hair tie to do a ponytail or messy bun hat. I apologize, the video quality is not perfect and I actually had to re-record the audio because it didn't import correctly. But here we go. I saw several tutorials where you would either knit the hat more as a flat piece and then stitch it together so that you would have the ponytail ribbing. I didn't care for that. I also saw some where I would crochet around the bind off, or I would do a crocheted bind off. And I tried it with a single crochet, a slip stitch, and a half double, and it added a lot of bulk to the bind off. It made the bind off flare out and just made a texture that I didn't care for. This is a little bit wonky in terms of how to do it. It looks a little funny, but it did actually work really well. You will notice that I have a lot more stitches on my needles than a normal hat bind off. Normally you would decrease to, let's say 10 or 8. However, because you're trying to get around a hair tie, you need more stitches so that it fully closes and engulfs the hair tie. For this, I am actually going to double up the hair tie so that if one section starts to wear out, it has another one. If you were doing a messy bun hat, you might want to just double the ponytails or the hair ties because you do need a little bit more stretch. And for this, it's a little wonky, as I said. And what you start out with is the first stitch is a little bit weird because you're really trying to connect the knitwork to the hair tie. And so you pass through the hair tie, slip a stitch, and then yarn over and knit through both of the stitches. And that connects the hair tie to the actual knitwork so that you can keep going. And it starts to flow after a little bit. It just takes a little bit. And it did get really challenging. I am a pretty experienced knitter, and knitting around the ponytail or the hair tie, I was actually having to pull individual stitches off to slip them over, and it just looked like, I had never knit in my lifetime. A very beginning knit where you are pulling individual stitches or doing one piece at a time. So, all right, and then for the bind off, I am just passing the previous stitch over. I know there are nicer bind offs. I just really didn't want anything that would add bulk to the bind off because the hair tie does add a little bit of thickness to the bind off. So again, slip as to knit, slip under the hair tie, yarn over, or if you're continental knitter, you're pretty much just ready. Yarn over again, and knit through both stitches. Yes, of course, it does look a little silly just because it is challenging. I'm going to skip to the last few stitches here and you will see how it came along. So I'm on my last few stitches. I will say it does get really challenging to get the last few stitches off. There's so much tension and tightness around the hair tie that I'm having to do, each individual stitch or yarn over, then the stitch one at a time, just because it was so challenging. I will note that this hat is kind of a modification of a cowl that is called the Leaving Cowl, and it's by Maria Magnuson. It is a free Ravelry download, so I will link that pattern to, of course, give her credit for her beautiful cowl. What I did is I just kind of did it, and then I started playing around with the decreases to get it to look somewhat nice. I just love her this pattern, and I had to figure out a decrease. There isn't one for an individual hat yet. So, all right, last stitch, and it is very challenging. It's very tight. Um, and from there, I'm going to weave in some ends and make the hat a little more presentable. You will see it does add a little bit of a flair, kind of like a decorative top. With the crochet, it was a lot more exaggerated. All right, so here's the hat with ends woven in. It doesn't look half bad, kind of a, a decorative top stitch, and it does have a lot of stretch to it. If you have thicker hair or something, you could, of course, modify it. I did do a long tail weave-in just in case the hair tie wore out. So I hope this video helps and have fun.